Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about dividing by fractions. So, you guys might already know by now that if you, for example, were to take the number 1, as you see here, and divide it by 2, then what you end up getting is a half. Of course, here we just divided by a whole number, and here, if you take the number 1 and you divide it by a fraction, which in this case, of course, is 1/2. You guys probably know that what you have to do is you take the 1 and then you multiply it by the reciprocal of 1/2. Reciprocal, of course, being a fancy way of saying that you just flip the fraction. So instead of 1 over 2, you get 2 over 1, and you have to multiply. So 1 times 2 over 1 equals 2. Now, a lot of times math concepts are easily forgotten and they remain confusing because the underlying idea or reason is still misunderstood. So I thought I would try to clarify what is the underlying reason as to why when you are dividing by a fraction that you end up multiplying by the reciprocal. And so to understand why, let's take a look at a picture. Or actually, I take that back. Before we get to the picture, let's do this. Let's rephrase some things. So when we see 1 divided by 2, let's translate that into having to turn 1 into 2 pieces. So in other words, if I gave you 1 of anything and I said divided by 2, all I'm saying is turn that one thing into 2 pieces. Similarly, if you have this sort of problem where you're taking the number 1 and you're dividing by a fraction, let's just say that that would be like me saying that take this one thing and turn it into a half piece. Now, in case this is still kind of confusing, have no fear. I'm going to show you a couple pictures. So let's look at this. We're going to call this our 1. It's a semicircle of sorts. This is going to be our shape, so this is 1. Now, if I was to say I want you to divide this by 2, then again, all I'm saying is take this 1 shape and turn it into 2, split it. And if you were to do that, you'll get something like this, right? So here we took that 1 shape and now we turned it into 2 pieces. Okay, let's go back to that original shape. What if I said take this 1 shape and divide it by a half? Well, if you think about it, how is it possible to divide something by a half? You can divide this into 2 pieces, or 3, or 4, or 5. You could just keep going. But how do you divide it into a half? Well, the only way to turn this 1 piece into a half piece is by doing this. You have to add another half. So if you think about it, that original piece, which is still there on the left, that now becomes a half piece. And if you think about it, of course, all we did is we simply doubled that original piece. So we had 1 and now we turned it into 2. And if you think back to that original problem, when you take the number 1 and you divide it by a half, remember you're supposed to actually then multiply by the reciprocal. In other words, it becomes 1 times 2, which equals 2. Well, here I'm just showing you visually that that's exactly what happened, that we had a single piece, and when we divided by half, we ended up getting 2. So there you go. I hope that clarified the reasoning and the idea behind dividing by fractions. Hopefully that all makes sense. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.